So in this video, we're breaking down one of the simplest but most powerful exercises you can do on your own to build your first touch and your passing skills, and that's simply doing wall passes. So it's nothing fancy, nothing too complicated, just you, a football, and essentially a wall. Now listen, a lot of players overlook this because it's extremely basic, to the point where you wouldn't really class this as an exercise or even a drill, but basic doesn't mean ineffective. And in fact, this drill is one of the fastest ways to sharpen your first touch and your passing rhythm and your ball control as well, especially if you're a beginner learning the basics and the fundamentals. Now for the exercise itself, all we're doing is just working on our basic side foot passing technique. And so we want to stand about 4 to 5 yards away from the wall, and then from here we're going to pass the ball against the wall using the inside of our foot and just continue that motion. Now there's 3 main things we want to focus on when doing this drill. First is having clean contact. So making sure we're connecting with the right part of the ball, which is going to be the center of the football, with the right part of our foot, which is going to be that side foot instep area. Next is consistent pace. So you don't want to do this exercise too fast or too slow. You want a nice rhythm, and that comes down to your weight of pass. So if you pass the ball way too hard, that's going to quicken the exercise. And if you underweight the pass, of course the ball won't reach back to you, and that'll slow the drill down overall. So you just want to make sure you're at a nice comfortable zone with this drill and just a good rhythm. And then finally, you want to focus on quick resets, which is basically how you recover from mistakes. Now because this drill is a continuous motion, you can very quickly get to 50 or even 100 reps in terms of passes, and every pass you do won't be perfect. So some passes might be a bit wonky, or you might over or under hit passes, and so it's important that you're able to sort your feet out and adjust when you're doing this drill to keep the drill going. You know, if you overhit a pass, for example, and now the ball's coming back at you with fast pace, can you have the ability maybe to cushion that next pass to keep the drill going? And that's where in some ways the real benefit is in this drill. It's not really about just doing the drill perfectly without any mistakes. Of course, don't get me wrong, if you can do that, that's amazing. That's a good sign that you're improving. But just like in a real game, things won't always be perfect. You know, you might have passes played to you with the wrong pace. For example, if someone gives you a sloppy underweight pass, can you maybe punch the ball back, with pace to the right player, to quicken the game? Or if someone, gives you a pass that's not exactly to your feet, can you adjust your feet and keep the game moving? So it's things like that get improved, areas like that get improved from this drill. And so those 3 main things are what we want to pay attention to. And also, if we can, we want to try and use both feet. Now, if you're a complete beginner, just learn the basics, then just stick to using your strong foot first, and then eventually you can move it over to your weak foot. But if you're somewhat comfortable at doing wall passes, then you want to start using your weaker foot more. Of course, it will serve you well in the game. Being able to play off both feet is something that not too many players can do comfortably, even with the basics. And so it'll be a huge benefit to your game. And so just to recap, you want to focus on having a clean connection with the football, making sure the ball stays flat or as flat as possible. Of course, it won't always be perfect. Just doing your best to focus on the technique is what's going to help you improve. Then we want to make sure that we're keeping the pace of the drill consistent by paying attention to our weight of passing. So not trying to overhit or underhit the pass. And then finally, making sure we have quick resets. So anything that goes slightly wrong, we can just adjust our feet or adjust our body and keep the drill going. Now look, I'm a big fan of doing the basic things to the highest standard. I think that's important when playing football. And a lot of players, when they get better, they look for complicated drills, the flashy things, the more advanced things, when really they haven't mastered the basic fundamentals. And that used to be me for a long time. I always thought I was above doing basic things like cone weaves and wall passes and whatnot. But the more I did the basic drills, the cleaner my game got. You don't want to be that guy who can do all the tricks, the step overs, elasticos, Rabona crosses and whatnot, but can't take the ball back foot, or can't do a 5-yard pass without the ball bobbling. And so it just makes your overall game look untidy. You want to be that player that 100% shows ability on the ball. Maybe you're a skillful player that likes to take on opponents. That's amazing. But can you show that simple, more mature side of your game? Can you, bounce the ball back cleanly, punch the ball properly into a teammate's feet, take a clean first touch? These simple things added on top of your ability as a player is what's going to make you look like you know what you're doing on the pitch. And so even if you can just commit to 5 to 10 minutes a day or every other day just doing the basic things, maybe before a session you do some basic cone weaves or something, that's going to elevate your game a lot. So that's it for this lesson on the importance of doing wall passes and the mechanics of the drill. Of course, the fundamentals in general are important, so make sure you cover those. Feel free to check out my football community on school. It's the first link in the bio. But other than that, thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.